Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Bound of Truth. Today is Saturday, May 4th. So, to all you wonderful, fun Star Wars fans out there, may the 4th be with you. And also, tomorrow is Cinco de Mayo. Yes, my last name's Lopez. Do I speak Spanish? No, I don't. I barely speak English. And so far with the podcast and all the subscribers and so forth, I think I'm doing okay with my English. Little stupid joke there. Here's a fun another joke. I have a lot of my Hispanic brethren call me a coconut. You're thinking, well, what's a coconut? Brown on the outside, white on the inside. Haha. Anyways, hope everybody's having a great weekend. I did take a little bit of time off this last weekend. I've, done what, 16, 17 episodes since I started back in January of this year, and it's been really good. It's put a lot of pedal to the, metal, pumping a lot of episodes out. It has some really great interviews with people local and also out of my area. And I just need to take a little break, reflect, rest up. So I'm going to burn myself out and to make sure to continue my work and what I'm doing with the podcast and give you all my best efforts to make sure I'm staying true to what I'm doing. And again, making sure staying true to the platform that you all deserve to hear. So before I go into this next episode, again, how you can reach me is through email. If you have any questions, concerns, comments, want to be a guest, boundtotruth34@gmail.com. Also, please subscribe on Spotify. Bound to Truth. That's where I'm mainly at. I'm working on getting onto the Apple podcast. But definitely do that. The more likes, the more subscribers, the better to get the, more of this information out to get people to who may have experiences of their own, either in the paranormal, UFOs, even cryptozoology, to have a platform to reach out and hopefully they would love to join and be a guest on. And then also on YouTube, Bound to Truth, and also you can reach me on Facebook, Bound to Truth. So, anywho, today, so there's been a lot of things that came out last couple weeks. There's a person named Jason Sands that came out about a couple weeks ago. He's the latest whistleblower regarding the UAPs or UFOs. That's one of the whistleblowers that David Grusch has been talking about, one out of many that are supposed to come out more this year. Again, we'll see how that works and how that happens. And he's got a lot of great stuff and information that I think it's worth researching and listen to. Again, his name is Jason Sands. You're probably wondering why did I not do a podcast on him? Well, I wanted to really process the information that I'm hearing, really kind of really take what he's saying and his word in. And there was a lot of episodes and podcasts and YouTube really blowing up about him. And I just wanted that. I just didn't want to saturate my take on it with all those others out there. So I'm hoping to do an episode the next week or two on regards to Jason Sands once I've did more research and process the information. And on his claims and so forth. And they're really interesting. I know he's doing a documentary that's coming out in, I think, June or July. That's going to be, I believe, on Amazon Prime. And I really encourage you guys to keep your eyes and ears open to that coming out. I'm really curious, to listen to that and really get more of the grit and the details of his experience and regarding in the military, the UAPs and so forth. But anywho, so I'm gonna let that digest a bit. But I thought of, and I've been working on this one for last month, I want to start on the guy named Bob Lazar. And for me, he's a very familiar character in regards to being, I think, the very major whistleblower in the UFO field, in the UAP field. He's the one who, back in 1989, talked about Area 51, which at that time did not exist publicly, but he's the first one to make a claim about it. He was shunned. He was basically discredit it and so forth. But I think it's good to kind of start back into how really things when it comes to how do I say this, when it comes to making more public awareness regarding the UFOs and UAP. I think he's a great start to kind of take it back in the beginning. It's like watching a movie, right? There's 3 or 4 parts, like watching John Wick, right? You don't want to start John Wick 4, you want to start John Wick 1 and kind of get the origin story of how things progressed to where we're at today. So I would really want to talk about Bob Lazar. If many of you don't know who he is, I encourage you to really research him. And I do have some videos and clips that I will play today. So let me go ahead and get started on my notes that I have about good old Bobby Boy. And so let me pop that up here. All right. So who is Bob Lazar? Here's a bit of a summary of Bob. So Bob Lazar is an American conspiracy theorist who claims he was hired in the late 1980s to reverse engineer extraterrestrial technology. This work supposedly occurred at the secret site called S-4, which is in Area 51, a subsidiary installation allegedly located several kilometers south of the United States Air Force facility, popularly known as Area 51, which I obviously just said. Lazar purports to have examined an alien craft and the U.S. and read U.S. government briefing documents that describe alien involvement in human affairs over the past 10,000 years. And continue on here. His claims brought additional public attention to Area 51 and fueled conspiracy theories surrounding its classified activities. His assertions have been analyzed and rejected by skeptics and some ufologists. Although he retains a following of supporters, Lazar has no evidence of alien life or technology, and elements of his claimed education and employment history have been exaggerated or fabricated. Lazar's public image has also been affected by criminal activity. He was convicted in 1990 for his involvement in a prostitution ring, and again in 2006 for selling illegal chemicals. Yeah, before I continue on, the prostitution ring was really interesting. There's a video on that, and I think he was just trying to be a good person to help somebody out and got taken advantage of, but in my own weird way, I think it's kind of hilarious. All right, so to basically continue on to more of his specific claims, and I bullet pointed here. His claim: got a master's degree from Caltech, got a master's degree in physics from MIT, invented a car engine that worked 100% on hydrogen from water, was hired to work as a scientist at S-4, 15 miles south of Area 51, worked in U.S. military program to back engineer alien technology and power anti-gravity propulsion craft, browsed inside a UFO powered by Element 115, which we'll talk more a little bit deeper about, parked in a hangar, tried to sit in the seats but found them too small. Interesting. Says he did see an alien, saw secret reports documenting alien involvement with mankind over the 10,000 years, and I'll get a little bit more into that, which is very interesting, and says these beings, aliens, extraterrestrials, whatever you want to call them, are from the Zeta Reticuli. In more to that in his claims, he also regards to the crafts. He said he saw at least 8 different crafts. Let's see here. Some of these crafts were from an archaeological dig. So what he means by that is these crafts, not all of them were just some recent crashes the last 10, 20, 30 years at that time. He said that some of them were very ancient that were brought in to Area 51. And one of the crafts he really liked out of the 8 was he called the sports bottle, which I'm assuming it's like a Porsche-like craft that he's probably describing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start an interview to kind of hear a little bit of his story, his experience inside a craft with him and Joe Rogan. So I got a couple of videos on that. So let me go ahead and get my share screen on. I got it all prepared. So this should be good, God willing. So let me go ahead and share my screen. Here, nope, that's not it. That's not what I meant to do. Give me a second here. I apologize, everybody. I suck at this. Goodness gracious. Okay. And let me go and share screen here. All right. So this is him regarding his experience in, like I said, inside the craft. So here we go, and let me begin. Here we go.
So you're going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
It's it's a very ominous feeling because there are no, first of all, everything is one color. It's like a dark pewter color, and there are no right angles anywhere. It's as if somebody took, I've said this before, somebody took a model and fashioned it out of wax and then heated it just for a short time so everything melted. Everything looks like it's fused together. Everything has a radius of curvature where two items meet. It's a really weird looking thing, but there was almost nothing other than a small foldable hatchway that looked recognizable. Everything was really unworldly, to pick a way to describe it.
So you get inside this thing, and it's designed for something that's much smaller than a human being.
Yeah, you can't really stand up till you get to the very center of it.
And how tall are you?
I'm 5'10".
And what do you think this was designed for?
I'd say something close to half my height.
Wow. So these little 3 foot tallish creatures.
Yeah, and the seats were small too. I mean, obviously it was made, for something small, but there is no, like, there's nothing else in there. There's just seats, the reactor, and some of the subcomponents. There's no control panels. There's no bathroom. There's no decorative components or artwork or anything that you would recognize or trim. I mean, it's just a very bare bones thing.
You're not seeing any screens.
Well, there are archways around it that are part of the superstructure, and that one of the archways can become transparent. When I was in there, there was another group working on one of the archways, and you could call that a screen, more or less.
So through that archway, it would maintain the solidity, the solid, whatever metal it was.
Yeah.
But you could
Yeah,
see
it just became transparent. Yeah. I saw that happen once or twice before I left.
Did you ask any questions about what the fuck?
No, there's no asking
There's
questions.
no asking questions.
No.
But when you watch something become transparent and you realize it's still there, but you can now see through it.
Yeah, I mean, now that's not that impressive. We do have some liquid crystal materials that are like that. They have
seen that in
smart
bathrooms.
glass. Yeah, they call it smart glass. So this is just, and I don't know if the craft is made of, an advanced metal or a ceramic. It was cold to the touch. So, I would lean more towards a metal.
You're not allowed to ask questions.
All right, so I stopped the video there. Basically, he did a long podcast. I think it was about a year or two ago with Joe Rogan. Again, I encourage you guys to really see it on YouTube. It's an incredible story. But I thought it was really interesting about the size of the ship, especially walking inside when he said it was definitely not designed for a typical, obviously, our height here on Earth as beings. It was described for more of a 3-4 foot being to occupy this craft, and also that it was very impressive but also simple for travel. There was no, like, if you're going on an airplane, there was no bathrooms, there was no food trays walking down the road, so it's not like it's going from point A to point B. My assumption is I think this craft might have that capability of really bending space and time, maybe a wormhole to make us travel a lot shorter, since it didn't really need those things. But again, we have no idea. Maybe it is. Maybe these beings are more of like an artificial biological being that was created from where it came from to do the travel and research regarding the galaxy. Like, look what we have when we send I would say rovers to Mars, right? Those robotic rovers in Mars. We're not sending a human there, but that machine doesn't need to use a restroom, doesn't need food, doesn't need water. It just simply needs power. Maybe that's kind of the same thing as well. Who knows? We have no idea. But I thought that was quite interesting to kind of him describe a little bit of what his experience was inside the craft, especially certain moments where it was transparent to see outside of it being inside, which I thought was quite interesting. So in this next clip here with Lazar, I'm going to play. I think this is another uh Joe Rogan one. Let me see here. Is this yeah. So this is regarding the element 115, which is supposedly actually, you know what? I'm not going to talk about that. I'll talk about it later. But I'll let you hear this clip regarding the element 115 and how it's used as gravity propulsion for this craft. So let me prep that video up for you here. And here we go. Enjoy.
In the Netflix documentary, Mr. Lazar outlines how the space folding engines on these spacecraft are set up.
Underneath, and the floor below, are the gravity emitters. The center antenna is really an extension of the reactor in the center, and it's a waveguide, which allows the emission of the gravity wave, which forms kind of a heart shape over the whole craft. That's how it creates its distortion. These gravity emitters can be swung all the way up to 180 degrees. And this allows the craft to essentially stand on two of them and hover, while this one swings up and creates a distortion in front of it, allowing the craft to slide forward. So that's how their low power mode, Omicron configuration operate. The Delta configuration uses all three, and unlike science fiction movies where you see flying saucers just flying along like that, they actually fly belly first. The craft flies along, leaves the atmosphere of the planet, it turns its belly to the destination. The three amplifiers focus in on the destination, and that's how it proceeds.
Incredible plans like folding space require incredible evidence. There's no physical evidence to speak of, but there is his eyewitness report. In the documentary, he describes the physical setup of the engines, but what the documentary did not show is his description of how the alien engine works. I found an archived document on the internet that showed his description of the engine that he had on his website in 1996, and a review of it by a particle physicist, Dr. David Morgan. There's a link in the description if you want to see it. Here's how Mr. Lazar described the alien propulsion system. It generates an intense gravitational field, and using that field to distort space-time, bringing the destination to the source, and allowing you to cross many light years of space in little time without traveling in a linear mode near the speed of light. Well, distorting space-time is not a big deal. All matter distorts space-time. That's what gravity is. Your body is distorting space-time right now. What Mr. Lazar, I think, is alluding to is the idea of creating a wormhole in space to go instantly from one location to another. This idea of folding space or creating a wormhole through space instead of traversing through space idea has been talked about for decades in scientific circles. It's been used in movies like Interstellar. It is theoretical and not anything new. The problem is that in order to create a wormhole this size that might allow this kind of travel, you would need one big enough for the spacecraft to go through, and one that would last more than billions of a second. This, according to everything we know, requires an enormous amount of energy. And I don't mean like the energy of a hydrogen bomb, which converts about 2 pounds of matter into energy. I mean the energy created if the entire mass of the Earth was turned completely into energy using Einstein's equation E=mc², and possibly even more mass than that. But according to Mr. Lazar, the fuel for this spaceship comes from a few hundred pounds of element 115.
Okay, there you go. So I would definitely encourage you to, that video is Arvin Ash about Bob Lazar, Area 51, Element 115. The description they were talking about, it's better to see it than to me just describe it. When you again, I'm a very visual person when it comes to descriptions of what he was talking about, and watching that video and the artwork and what was presented, it made a lot of sense of how that would work. But of course, I liked how they talked about how much energy it would take, and especially describing it just like even the size of the Earth. But this is where it takes a turn to talk about element 115. So I'll talk a little bit about that, about element 115. So basically, here is what more of my notes regarding element 115 is. So Bob Lazar claimed to have worked on reverse engineering alien spacecraft at location S-4 near Area 51. I already said that already. He said that he learned about element 115 during his time there, and that it was used as a fuel source for the alien propulsion system. However, his claims have been highly controversial and are not supported by scientific evidence. Element 115, also known as moscovium, was first synthesized in laboratory in 2003. So again, he talked about this element about at least, 13, 14 years that wasn't even on the periodic table. And scientists were saying this is silly, this is stupid, this doesn't exist, but yet it got discovered and is now part of the periodic table. So I thought that was really, really interesting. So not only has he blew the whistle about Air 51, which was denied for many years until it finally publicly was announced it existed, number one. And number two, he talked about element 115, which he was discredited by lots of scientists, but eventually became, quote, discovered and synthesized in the laboratory in 2003. And is now part of the periodic table. So again, very interesting stuff. So to continue on. So, and its properties have been studied since then. As of now, there is no credible scientific evidence to support Bob Lazar's claims about the element 115 in 1989 due to it not able to be stabilized as stabilize its potential. So basically, more about the element 115 is that even though it has been discovered, there are still arguments that it cannot be what do you call it, stabilized to be used as the quote fuel that Bob Lazar is talking about. Again, that could be true because of just where we're at tech wise with our technology, where we're at, that we're not able to achieve that, or it has been stabilized and it's of course not made to the public. And what could that element, on the side note, what can that element do with energy? Maybe it can produce more free energy if it's able to create, supposedly the fuel energy for wormholes for these crafts to travel. What can they do for us when it comes to eliminating gas? What can they do for us has to eliminate using fossil fuels and coal? I mean, who knows, but of course, anytime you introduce something that's free, it disrupts the markets, and God knows what that could cause. Again, I'm all about keeping it simple, keeping it free, and figuring something else out. Make it easier for all mankind. Get free energy, right? Anyways, so there's this next video. I hope it's relevant to what I was talking about. This one is going more in addition to the reverse engineering aspect, the continuation of the reverse engineering aspect that Bob Lazar has been talking about. I try to keep this in order as much as possible about his experience inside the craft, what fuels the craft, and then more about his reverse engineering. So let me prep this video on and hopefully does it justice. And here we go.
So at the time, you having a firm knowledge of the periodic chart and knowing what was real and what wasn't real, what was your reaction to having this stable element 115 that wasn't even supposed to exist?
Well, everything was impossible.
Right.
I mean, down to the metal. I did get a chance to look inside the craft on only one occasion. And this was important because where the reactor sat might have been critical to how it operated, since everything operates without any interconnection. So the placement of components might be critical. So they allowed me to go inside and look at it.
So you're going into this craft, and what are you thinking when you're inside of it? Like, what are you seeing?
It's it's a very ominous feeling because there are no, first of all, everything is,
Okay, that's continue on to more about his experience with the craft. So I apologize. Didn't go too much about the reverse engineering. So I'll skip that a little bit, but the bottom line is that the reverse engineering is all about this usage of element 115, which exists. And of course, we know it exists today because of we can now synthesize it. We just can't stabilize it, supposedly. But anywho, but now what I want to continue on with Bob Lazar and his experience is talking about his experience and witness about these beings. Again, they could be artificial beings, it could be real alien beings, who knows? We don't know. It could be, honestly, it could be extra dimensional. We're going by the information that's given to us. We don't know. But basically, this is talking about Lazar on aliens and Zeta and where they're from Reticuli. So here's the description that's been pulled up about what has been stated about these beings, which we call, typically in the UFO world, if you're familiar, called the Greys. So Greys are typically depicted as gray-skinned. Gosh, hope I don't butcher this word. Diminutive humanoid beings that possess reduced forms of or completely lack external human body parts such as noses, ears, or sex organs. The bodies are usually depicted as being elongated, having a small chest, and lacking in muscular definition and visible skeletal structure. Their legs are depicted as being shorter and jointed differently from humans, with limbs proportionally different from a human. The association between gray aliens and Zeta Reticuli originated with the interpretation of a map drawn by Betty Hill, who is a school teacher named excuse me, let me rephrase that. Interpretation of a map drawn by Betty Hill by a school teacher named Majori Fish sometime in 1969. So a little bit, I know it sounds like a little sidetracking. So when I brought up Zeta Reticuli earlier, and Bob Lazar talked about the Zeta Reticuli. So if you research the alien abduction, a very famous alien abduction called Betty and Barney Hill, definitely encourage you to research that and really listen to the whole story about that. It's really fantastical and interesting. But just a part of the story regarding the Zeta Reticuli, Betty was talking to these beings and asked these beings where they're from, and supposedly they showed her a star map, and eventually she drew that star map during her hypnosis experience. And at that time, that star, that mapping, that part of the galaxy wasn't discovered till later on. It didn't exist, it wasn't found until years later on when it actually was discovered. And so, again, another, I believe, confirmation that to her story, what happened to her. So basically, that's the side note regarding the Zeta Reticuli and how that correlates to what confirming what Bob Lazar's talking about, where they came from, to the story about Betty and Barney Hill's alien abduction, which happened back in the 60s, by the way. So that was about at least, I would say, over 20 years prior to Bob Lazar working on Area 51. So continuing on with that and going back to what I was saying, Betty Hill was under hypnosis and had claimed to have been shown a map that displayed the aliens' home system and nearby stars. Upon learning of this, Fish attempted to create a model from the drawing produced by Hill, eventually determining that the stars marked the aliens' home were from Zeta Reticuli, a binary star system. Again, confirming what Bob Lazar was talking about, where these beings are supposedly from, to confirming a couple decades prior, that's what Betty Hill was showing. So it kind of, there's a bit of synchronicity in regards to confirming where these beings are potentially from. Supposedly, right? That's what they're told, but who knows, right? We don't know. A little bit more about Zeta Reticuli, just for fun facts. So Zeta Reticuli, it is Latinized from reticuli, is a wide binary system in the southern constellation of Reticulum. Boy, my high school brain wants to go and say rectal. I don't know why. Sorry, guys. Anyways, from the southern hemisphere, the pair can be seen with the naked eye as a double star in very dark skies. Based upon parallax measurements, the system is located at a distance of about 39.3 light years away from Earth. Both stars are solar analogs that have characteristics similar to those of the sun. They belong to the Zeta Hercules moving group of stars that share a common origin. So again, interesting information regards to discovery that Zeta Reticuli being official, and maybe they're galaxies similar to ours, and maybe these beings do come from there. Again, we don't know. That's information that Betty was getting. That's what Lazar has been given as well during his time at Area 51 in S-4. So now this is an interesting one regarding Bob Lazar and these aliens in the regards to religion. I'm going to play a clip for you, and the information given it's a very short clip. The information given for me creates a lot more questions than answers. So I'll give you the video here to have a listen to and just ponder on it. And again, I would love to hear everybody's thoughts on this as well. So it's a very short clip, so it's under a minute. So I'm going to play it right now. Here we go.
One important thing is that there is an extremely classified document about that. But why would it be classified material? I want you to say it. It's so far out. Your objection has been noted. Okay. What does it say? That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers. Containers. Maybe containers of soul and come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers. And that's how we're mentioned in the document. That religion was specifically created. So we have some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the container.
We had this conversation.
Okay. So if you heard that and paid attention, a lot of questions, right? To these beings, we are considered containers. Doesn't say specifically what type of containers. Containers of what? Containers of the soul, containers of we have no idea. And supposedly that they created religion, multiple religions, I guess, to have boundaries and rules not to damage these so-called containers. Again, like I said, a lot more questions with that information given. It really spins around, right? And this is not to disprove, the belief of God, the belief in Jesus, or, of other things. I have my own personal theories regards to that. Again, it's not facts theories, which I'll definitely share towards the end of the show. But I wanted to do some more research regarding, okay, I have more questions, I'm sure y'all on regarding, hey, we're containers and they created religion. So they've been around for a long time. So I went on Reddit and just try to do some extra research to try to see if I could find a particular group or person that can really shed some light and get some really good depth on it. And I got fortunate to find one that I'm going to read here that has 5 theories of what that potentially could mean. So this is from Reddit Shats. Sorry. This is from Reddit Shats Mao on the container theory. So here we go. Theory 1. Biological containers. Could humans be of the interest to aliens because of our genetic diversity? This theory suggests that we might be like living libraries of genetic information, valuable for research or perhaps even preserving life forms across the universe. So that's theory 1. Theory 2, consciousness vessels. This perspective wonders if it's our unique consciousness and experiences that aliens find intriguing. Are humans studied by extraterrestrial beings to understand the nature of consciousness itself? Well, that's interesting because They are, if they're from a different planet, their culture could be completely different ours. And if they're all the same there, we're very diverse here. I think we can all agree on that. So, hey, that's a possibility. I call it a cosmic curiosity. Theory 3, emotional and cultural archives. From this angle, humans could be seen as carriers of rich emotional histories and cultural complexities. Do aliens study us in a way akin to anthropologists looking to understand the myriad ways in which sentient beings can experience and construct reality? That one's a little bit deeper, but I like that one. Possibility, right? Again, part of that cosmic curiosity. This is an interesting one. Theory 4, energy sources. A more autonomous interpretation suggests that humans could be viewed as sources of energy, whether physical, spiritual, or otherwise, that can be harvested. That's a possibility. I mean, we hear a lot about abductions. You heard my last episode with John regarding his experience with those abductions, as he's one out of many people who've gone through that. I have no idea. That is definitely a possibility. Not too sure. And the last theory, theory 5, experiential simulations. Perhaps human lives and societies offer a form of simulation for extraterrestrial entities, allowing them to explore outcomes of various societal, societal, I don't know if that's a word, technological and ethical experiments from afar. So could this be where we're in this big giant zoo, right? We have we have zoos that we've all been to, and we see the different diverse alive animals that we observe, to not only just admire and its beauty and so forth, but more of just their curiosity about their behaviors and just how they deal with their surroundings. And that's a possibility too. We're not too sure. I have no idea. So those are the 5 theories from that Reddit post, which I thought was really good. Oh, excuse me. I lied. There's one more. Theory 6, dimensional gateways. Might humans or certain aspects of human existence act as gateways or containers for accessing different dimensions of realities? Okay, that one's really deep. Okay, that's probably the deepest one. Um, that is interesting. Are we? Are we dimensional gateways? We talk about people with mirrors and water being a potential gateway to another realm per se used. I mean, we heard that in a lot of cultures and cults using a lot of nature and resources to really experiment and use that for those reasons. Are we that as well? Not too sure. I mean, if you look at exorcism and demon possession, um, you know, are we those type of gateways between those different dimensions? I'm not sure. I mean, our body's not what 80-90% water. Not too sure. Maybe that's a little bit more of a stretch claim, but that is an interesting theory, which I'm open to hopefully kind of ponder more on and see if that's even a possibility. So to kind of continue on, each of these theories presents a unique lens through which to view Lazar's claim. They range from the potential for mutual benefit and curiosity to more self-serving or even sinister motivations from an alien's perspective. And I think that's a fair comment, you know, because us as humans, I think we're that way as well. In certain ways, we how we treat life on this planet, we're the apex predator, right? So we think we're on top of the food chain, regards to how this planet's managed and how we handle the animals and handle the other living beings that are on this planet, and some of it is very, that we have people out there who had the right intentions and want to help the life that's exists on this planet. And there's others who are more poachers and more about trophies or more about sourcing it for its value. Could these beings be one or the other or both? We don't know because we don't know their culture. We don't know if their complexity and diversity like we are. We have no idea, but it is a curious thought. So, to end this podcast regarding Bob Lazar, as I said, I love talking about Bob Lazar. I think he's a good start to the things that have been happening in the last 3 to 5 years, starting with David Grusch and now Jason Sands and other things. I think it's relevant to really start how, where we're at. So, thoughts of this podcast to summarize. And this is for you guys. This is for everybody. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you believe Bob Lazar? Do we have multiple crafts that are being re-engineered, and have we succeeded? With the proof of element 115, do you believe we secretly were able to stabilize it and use it for the energy source for craft travel? Do you believe that this tech is from aliens from Zeta Reticuli? Or could it be interdimensional? Could it be demons? Could it be Nephilim? Could it be both? Who knows? Do you believe that aliens created religion to keep ourselves in check to protect our quote containers? What do you think of the multiple theories about us being containers? Is this all a lie? And that these beings are interdimensional or possibly demonic to create confusion amongst many? And I think those are really fair questions, right? There's a lot of disinformation out there, a lot of confusion out there. We don't know. I think what's the most important thing is that we express our free thinking. That is definitely the freedom that we should always use. The one day you start doing that and just be told what to do and how to think is a day where you lose your freedom. And I say that not just for this episode, but just in life in general. And I encourage people to make sure they don't lose themselves and they be true to who they are. So continue on. These questions and thoughts are very relevant for our current time. Due to all the reports from whistleblowers within our government that is still being investigated within the Senate and Congress. But this could be a distraction or something bigger and maybe more terrifying. The truth is there, but don't be controlled by the narrative. Educate, research, and think for yourselves. And again, just basically repeating what I said earlier before that last thought. Educate, research, and think for yourselves. It's not just about Bob Lazar and his experience and aliens and so forth. There's a lot out there we still don't understand. There's a lot out there that we don't know, and that's beautiful. And I think it's beautiful that we should go outside the narrative. We should explore what we have on this planet. We should explore not just that, but ourselves as well. Don't let the narrative control you. It's okay to have a plan, but don't let it be. But make sure God is your truth in your Bible, right? Make sure you stay true to the independency and the what do you call it? The different characteristic who you are, right? Always be appropriate about who you are, right? But don't change who you are because of the narrative that is expected to be followed. I encourage everybody to really research Bob Lazar, to listen to more of the stuff that I was talking about. Love to hear your thoughts about it, definitely for sure. But the most important thing, again, when I do this podcast, again, is free think. Take the information, but come to your own conclusions. And you know what? And let's converse about it. Let's talk about it. We're meant to communicate, not just by this podcast, not just by text, not just by email, but actual conversations. That's what keeps us tolerant. That's what keeps us healthy. That's what keeps us graceful and loving. And before I leave today, again, I'll repeat how to reach me. If you have any comments, thoughts, concerns, and insults, or you want to be a guest of the show, boundtotruth34@gmail.com, Facebook, Bound to Truth, on X, Bound to Truth, YouTube, Bound to Truth. Again, I hope everybody has a great night. Love to get your feedback and thoughts. And again, remember, be true to who you are. Be appropriate. but don't compromise your character. And have a great night. God bless, and hope to hear from you soon. Talk to you later.